Welcome back to coverage of the European Ultimate Championships 2019, live here from Dior in Hungary.
Time is running.
Bringing you action from the mixed division. The host nation Hungary, who we saw in that opening game yesterday against Austria, back on the streams, this time taking on an upstart Lithuania side. Benjamin Rees here, delighted to be bringing you this game alongside Rachel Toshnerova.
Hi Benji, great to commentate with you again. Guys, it's getting so hot in here. Everybody expected that, but what we didn't expect was the wind. Benji, I watched the last game and it was just incredible. The amount of wind that picked up and the amount of hospital passes I've seen in the last 10 minutes that I watched, just incredible.
Yeah, I wonder if this is something that will play into the benefits of the Lithuanian side. Obviously, this Hungarian side is very young. They don't quite have the same level of experience and throwing know-how that their counterparts might not have. And although this is the first time Lithuania have sent a mixed team to a championship event, making their debut here, they're still a team that has a wealth of experience, and we'll see how they deal with the wind. Coming out on offense, going against the wind for this first point, and the Hungarians employing a zone that we saw them deploy against the Austrians yesterday.
It is quite an interesting tactic. Oh, and it works right away. A drop from number 7, and Hungarians going upwind right in front of the end zone.
Kundalites just couldn't get hands around that one, and that's what they're looking for, the Hungarians, trying to force these short fields turnovers. And Marton, who had himself 5 assists in their game yesterday, throws that one away out of the side of the end zone. So a little bit of a rough start from both sides, maybe just trying to adapt to the wind. Hungarians haven't played yet today. They played, obviously, in the opening game yesterday, but the Lithuanians played against Great Britain, a Great Britain side that many people had tipped for the title, and they actually took half on Great Britain 8-7 before eventually succumbing 15-10, but they were very happy to have really pushed aside of that quality and really make them have to play into the top gear. Just about towing that one in on the sideline is Galba. Now they're swinging it around the back, and just a concentration drop. Goes through the hands, was maybe looking at what the next pass was, and allowed Hungarian contingent on the sideline. Pretty happy with that one. Golanite picks up. Looking around, maybe trying to isolate a cutter in the end zone. Has to try and blade it over the top of the defender. Got a hand to it, but couldn't quite bring it in, and there's going to be a cool, uncontested foul.
I mean, there was definitely a bump after the receiver tried to catch that disc. The Lithuanian defender sort of falling on the back of the Hungarian receiver, and great use of hand signals. We have an uncontested foul.
Yeah, and I think just explaining that the disc is going to if it on uncontested foul should stay. Well, there's going to be a violation. Players just not entirely sure where the disc is coming in, but it should be coming in from the front of the end zone. Number 37, Sandy Bogar.
Great pump up D from number 7.
Yeah, but number 7 is Barbara Kundalite. She's a player who many people will become more familiar with over the summer when she takes her place on the Eurostars tour.
I see. Alongside with my sister.
Exciting news for your family.
Yep. Now we see a little bit more patience from the Hungarians.
Maton looking towards the end zone. Very large, active mark. And just try and shoot a backhand. It's going to sit high up, and it's really well read by Hungary, and they're going to break to start this game, taking a 1-0 lead over the Lithuanians. Looks like number 18, Varga, with the goal.
Quite a bit of fans in the stands for the Hungarian team. I saw previously that Zoltán Erdősi, the Hungarian Association president, was giving an interview right over there in the corner, in the further corner of the pitch. So probably Hungarian TV also interested. So more coverage for Ultimate. That's exciting. I want to talk a little bit, Benji, about the Hungarian zone. I think in these conditions, it might bear more fruit than yesterday at the almost windless opening game.
I would agree with that, and speaking to the Lithuanians beforehand as well, that's something that they would be looking to employ on their defensive points as well with this windy pressure. So we'll see if the Lithuanians can put this in, whether they will put that into play. This is going to be the direction where theoretically it should be slightly easier to go, the wind at your back in this direction.
That's right. It is an interesting phenomenon, the Hungarian style of play. It's just very different from anything else we usually see on the European scene. And it's a lot less running and a lot more waiting, sort of a mind game that confuses most teams. Before they realize what's happening, a couple of breaks can be scored, and then it might be hard to recover them. So we will see how Lithuanians figure out those adjustments they need to make.
Shooting with an over-the-top throw and just didn't compensate for the wind, showed too much of the underside. It gets pushed out of this near sideline, was looking for number 10, Bobina, but was over his head, and another break chance for Hungary.
Definitely a good look, taking into account the direction of the wind, but just not the best execution.
So the captain, Martin, who we've seen be a pretty formidable thrower yesterday, is just going to take his place further away. Brought in on the sideline. Swung into the centre and he claps and just doesn't get all of the disc. Looks around, looks at his hand a little bit, as if they'd betrayed him. Not quite what he told them to do.
Sort of the same thing that happened to the Lithuanians in the previous point, right?
And they're going to reset to begin this possession. Gets the disc back, right front centre of the end zone. All alone, it's Schlemaiter. And the Lithuanians tie us up at 1 apiece. That was a better possession. They looked pretty assured that time in the short field.
That's right. I think the upwind direction is going to... Maybe whoever scores the upwind throw will eventually be the winner in this game. But the score is even now. We're at the start, so let's not make any rush predictions.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time left in this game. The Lithuanians looking to build on that strong performance this morning.
Against?
GB,
right.
Yeah, losing 15-10, but pushing them a lot harder than I think many people expected in their international debut as a mixed team. So it's very exciting to be able to bring you a game between two teams that are really growing as programs.
That is correct. We should definitely mention that this championship features some more newbies, not just Lithuania in the mixed division, but Belarus. Which you could watch in the game before. And I'm not sure if the commentators mentioned that on the stream, but according to my survey, the Belarusian players have by far won the jersey contest.
Oh, interesting. As this one goes right out the side, Martin looks away disgusted with himself. You can see just quite how far out of bounds that's gone. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of jog to bring that one back in bounds. I haven't had my mind made up about the Belarusian jerseys.
100%. They have about 4 different alternatives. Apparently there's 2 official ones, but then they like the design so much that they decided to do more. So there's the dark ones in blue and pink, and then light ones in blue and pink.
I can get on board with that. Trying to squeeze the disc down the sideline, but the risk there is if it goes out of bounds and never comes back in like it does there, you're sacrificing a lot of field position on the throw from Visoskis.
What a good throw. Like, had it gone back in the field, that would have been perfect to move Lithuania a little closer to that in the upwind direction.
But there's just no margin for error really when you're trying to squeeze it down that narrow channel. So picked up from the sideline. Martin squirreling around in the handler space, going to try and shoot to the end zone. Kundalite went for it, and the disc varied a little bit, but thankfully for her there was no one behind to make the play. So a little bit shaky early on in this game, just under 10 minutes gone. Both sides still really finding their feet in these windy conditions here in Hungary.
We should maybe also mention that not all the fields are set up in the same direction. So people or teams do need to adjust. At one field you're playing, from the wind coming from one side, and then you switch fields and you gotta accommodate to completely different conditions.
And that time the wind just pushing it into the end zone. not really a chance at it, and they're going to walk it back up to the front with a chance to reopen a 1-point advantage. And quickly punched in, signals a score. Good spirit there, giving that one up, but both sides again just short field turnovers, really struggling to work it against the wind at all, and at the moment that's playing in Hungary's favour with a 2-1 lead.
I hate to say it, but Hakandi doesn't seem like a bad option in this weather and for these teams.
I mean, I agree with you. It's not necessarily the style that you want to play coming into a tournament. You've got systems that you want to enact, but sometimes playing the field position game a little bit isn't always a terrible idea.
I just feel like, you know, whenever we've just seen a replay of that unfortunate drop, and it just, you know, you feel the pain inside when you lose it right at your own end zone mark. So
I know personally, I've played really upwind, downwind games when we've worked it all the way up the pitch, turned it over, and then you just see someone huck it away and all your beautiful yards just disappear. It's heartbreaking. So Hungary with the 2-1 lead here in this mixed division pool play game. Other teams in this pool, Great Britain, Austria and Sweden. We saw Austria take down Hungary 15-6 yesterday. They had a really tight match against Sweden this morning. The Austrians got broken in universe to lose 13-12, and Great Britain beat this Lithuania side 15-10 this morning. Top 2 in the pool progress to power pools. Bottom 3 into lower pools where they can then have a chance to cross their way back up later in the tournament. More zone from the Hungarians, but doing a pretty good job of working it through that front line at the moment. Being a bit more aggressive with it than the Austrian handlers were yesterday, really trying to manipulate and move that line around. Crash into the middle. Swinging around the back. Galba finds Petrovita. And now they're working it downfield, advancing quickly. The jailbreak stops. And they just reset themselves. This Hungarian zone does like to hold its shape all the way to the end zone. They don't tend to transition into one-on-one coverage. Shows the hammer but puts it back in the toolbox, and they're just being a little bit more patient, showing some discretion about when they take these shots. It's a low throw, does well to get underneath it, keep it upright. But Janita, oh, that throw's going to be bobbled. Visionary pass into the hands of Galba. Nice heads-up play there. Little push pass into the centre of the cup, finds Kaminskas. And there's a player wide open on the far side. There's Nikaita. Catches for the Lithuanians. And we're tied back up now at 2s.
One thing that surprises me about the Hungarian team right now, but it might be due to a little lack of experience. I see that a lot in teams who don't have as much international experience. If you look over on the other side of the field, the entire Hungarian sideline is sort of standing there, and you can't have that when you have your teammates on the field playing a zone. So if there was a little more communication maybe from the sidelines, sort of helping out the defenders find open players in the end zone, that might impact the success that the Hungarian zone can bring.
I echo that sentiment, because with maybe a little communication, there's no way Resnikaita gets so open, and she's a player who the Lithuanians, they trust with her decision making. She finds good spaces, and she's a player who's well travelled. She's more than happy to put herself outside of her comfort zone in terms of playing with new teams. So she picked up with Madison Heist, for example, at Windmill this year. So just an example of kind of sometimes branching out of your little inner ultimate circle brings you a lot of good experience and tactical knowledge that you can use and bring to your home nation.
Absolutely, and here we come with another 0-point downwind for Hungary.
And we're seeing the Lithuanians go into this zone defense that they promised. Seems to be nothing going on downfield, and has to take a timeout almost immediately. Just looked and no one moved, and calling a timeout just to say, look, what are we doing? Everyone stopped. Why?
It almost seemed to me like there was a call on the field, because literally
There was
nobody was.
nothing.
But I mean, we do have to appreciate that cute matchup of a Lithuanian defender on the smallest female player of the Hungarian team.
Yeah, definitely trying to utilize that height mismatch on the mark, really extend that reach to try and get some point blocks there. And they're just going to have a little discussion at the timeout exactly how they can put this zone defense back on and frustrate the Hungarians. And in the Hungarian timeout, you've got to be saying, look, I know that we don't necessarily need to be all over the place offensively, but we need to have some sort of motion generating downfield so we can just drag defenders out of spaces and force them to make decisions.
That's right. We have seen, I really liked the last Lithuanian offense. It was very conservative. They sort of stuck to their game, even though the conditions are difficult. And luckily, with some height advantage, they managed to get that one disc that bumped off the hands of the receiver, saved it, and then scored easily to an open player.
But in these windy conditions, when there's going to be tips and there's going to be bubbles, so you do need to have that. Do need to have your eyes, your wits about you to make sure that if anything does pop back up, then you're there to just smother it away.
All the awareness pays off. So the teams will slowly move to the original position, and we'll be excited to see what Hungary has come up with in this timeout.
Yeah, it feels like they're very much anticipating the Lithuanians coming back out in that zone. We see they've spaced out their cutters very far apart downfield, and the Lithuanians are going to go back into this zone look.
Interestingly, Lithuania is leaving one wing for a female player. So there will be the mismatch, sort of on the left side of the field, where there's a girl guarding a guy.
We'll see how if they can utilize these gender mismatches. And the disc is checked back in for Hungary. Blade over the top. Oh, handler slips, does get underneath it. Good catch there by Hassani. Bogar. There's a swing available. And just looked downfield and didn't see the cutter, the defender in the intermediary, Visotskis.
And just like this, Lithuania gives up the chance to go short on this upwind point.
We'll see if the Hungarians can strike quickly before the zone gets set. Blading over the top. Now towards the far sideline. Swung back into the centre. And now continuation. Bogar blading over the top, kind of toe it in bounds, and the wind just tailed it out of the far sideline.
That was very close there.
Was looking for Gabor Sabo, but just couldn't quite make the catch. Wind took it before he ever had a shot at it.
I can't believe Lithuania couldn't get one pass in. They were so close, definitely close, definitely in the last third of the field. It was a good chance for them to get that important upwind point.
Oh, and they're going to bubble the cash, and good focus to get it at the second time of asking. We talked about how this is going to pop up, and you saw it there. Swing around, and there's another pop-up, and the defender swats it away. The defensive stalwart, we saw him get a number of blocks in the first game. Jonathan Hassani.
It's very difficult to remember that none of these upwind throws can be anywhere above the waistline of the receiver.
And once more, it's another turn. Very, still both sides not really adjusting fully to the wind.
Sort of seeing their open players well, but at the same time not realizing that it's a difficult spot to throw into.
Yeah, just because someone who's open when it's still is not necessarily open when it's this windy, and that's why teams are playing these zone defenses, to try and bait those throws. You can see the Lithuanian handler looks very frustrated, and that throw pops up, and that is not who I thought was going to catch that. Sergei Kalugin came through, but conservation of greatness perhaps. Next throw hits the turf.
And Hungary with another chance.
Hassendorf resets it back around, and now they're just swinging it happily around the back. Mark comes in, leaves the reset around, and that throw pops up a little bit, but there's no one around to put any pressure on it now. Here's Bogar. Takes the swing. Sahoki tries to weave it through and lays out, gets a hand, but can't get it all the way around it. This is definitely going to be a game dominated by these zone defenses, and maybe the team that's able to figure it out first is going to come away with the victory here. Looking for a deep shot there. Nearly collided with his own player, did Kalugin, but made the catch. Resets back. Vysotskis looks downfield, doesn't quite like what he sees. Weaves an inside-out backhand through the cup. That's a beautiful throw, and a lot of traffic downfield. Hungary makes the interception and gives it back immediately. Slapped to the ground by Kamila Reznikaita. But Lithuania now picking up in the Hungarian half. Another inside-out backhand. He's been devastating with that throw.
Oh!
And the centering pass into the middle is slapped to the ground. It's another D to add to his tally for Hasanyi. And that throw is going to pop up all over it. Slaps it down onto his feet and nearly kicked it back into his hands. Vysotskis. And he's going to take the time out with both sides looking a little bit ragged and a little bit flustered and struggling maybe a little bit in the heat. You can see how he's just a little bit exasperated, and that's easy to do in this when it's this hot.
Some great moments in this point, raising the fans off their seats, sort of getting on their toes to see who finally gets the disc. What a fun point to watch. Even though it looks sloppy, you know, at least it's fun for the fans. So we will have some on the replay right there. I'm glad the Lithuanians are using the break side so well. Some of the first backhand breaks tended to float over those intended receivers, but eventually they worked it out, and it's giving them a lot of opportunity to steal a lot of space upwind. So far, I feel like, Benji, the Lithuanians are able to play sort of a little nicer ultimate, but on the other hand, we know that the Hungarians just do have a different style. So I'm still afraid to make any predictions, because this really could go either way. At the same time, are you able to tell how much Lithuania is using their full depth of the roster?
So Hungary've got a much larger roster than the Lithuanians do, but certainly this is a Lithuania roster that doesn't necessarily feel that it has weak links. They're a team that they're very confident in their ability all the way across the team, and they'll play different styles. Sometimes you'll have the guys handle, sometimes they'll have the women handle. They mix it up a little bit, and so they're throwing different looks at you, but it's because they're confident with the level across the team.
I feel like the Hungarians do switch it around as well in terms of who plays what, but I do see similar faces on the field quite a bit, so I don't think, even though the roster is large. Oh, what a beautiful huck!
It's a shame that there was no one there.
Well, it's great position though for Lithuania right now.
And maybe that's the thinking.
Exactly, especially if a female handler is now going to pick up, so they can have a lot of defenders downfield really putting on the pressure and try to steal away the first pass.
Yeah, trying to get the gender mismatch on the mark, make things difficult, fakes the over the top. You can see the defender get his hands up, tries to squeeze it down the sideline, and that's never going to come back in, and that's exactly what the Lithuanians wanted, forcing the disc out of that sideline and not coming back in. So Vysotskis is going to pick it up right on the threshold of the goal.
Lithuania so close to scoring an upwind point right now. This could be a turning point in the match.
You can see the Hungarians really poaching that open side lane, trying to get the up line into space. Instead, just going to take the reset back. Looks for an option, swing around. Vysotskis, nice continuation.
Very confident with those swings.
Here's Petroskaita finds Resnikaita. They're taking their time and they're staying patient. I wonder how long it's going to be before they pull the trigger, and that time just slips on the up line cut.
The defender was not ready for that up line. If that had been a better throw, that could have been the point. Oh well, but Hungary's still stuck in the same spot, and the handler does the only thing she can. Hucks it just like that from that difficult spot. And Lithuania with another chance.
There was a person open in the end zone, but they couldn't quite squeeze it past all the traffic. Got the disc in the middle of the field now, really trying to use the full width. Just inching their way down, matriculating the disc down the field. Here's Petroskaita. Staying very calm and very patient. Nice little backhand there. So close, and they just about jam it in the jam hole into the front of the end zone. The Lithuanians earn their break back, and that's the first crucial upwinder of the game, taking a 3-2 lead.
Wow. That was, I think the wind sort of stopped breathing for 5 seconds there as the Lithuanians approached the end zone line. And eventually they found a quick dish in the end zone. This will be, this is a difficult spot for Hungary to be, because right now they're on offense, going upwind. But maybe they will surprise us. But like we said, the wind was not expected by most teams, knowing that it's going to be over 30, sometimes over 35 degrees here in Dyr. So the teams are still adjusting, still very early stages. Benji, do you want to talk about the system in the mixed division a little bit? After the initial pools, are there still power pools?
So the top 2 in each pool go straight into go into 2 top power pools. The bottom 3 go into lower pools. But then you're still, but just because you're in the lower pools, it doesn't mean you're out of contention. Still, finishing top of those can get you a chance to cross up into the bracket in the pre-quarter stage. So all hope is not lost if you don't make those top power pools, but obviously it does put you in a better position, gives you an easier path through the bracket.
That's right. If you guys are interested in how the system works and across the different divisions, make sure to tune in into the Eurozone podcast, where this is discussed by the president of the European Ultimate Federation, Odi, and the hosts. So if you have not had enough coverage after today's streaming, you can tune in to the podcast in the evening.
Yeah, all too well bringing a team of reporters to this event, so you can read coverage from all 3 divisions and recaps at the end of the day, and I'm sure they'll squeeze in a throw maybe a couple of Eurozone podcasts as well. So, as expected, zone defense from the Lithuanians. That's a lovely low release flick through that cup, and they're playing the jailbreak. Shooting it deep, there's a receiver wide open. If she can get there, she has it for the goal. The Hungarians march it upwind straight away. The Lithuanians maybe baiting the deep shot a little bit, thought they weren't able to execute it, but they did so fantastically, and Hungary tie it back up at 3 apiece.
And like I said, they might surprise us, and that's exactly what they did. I was very impressed by those quick breaks through the cup, finding really where the holes were in the between the first 3 defenders, and that deep shot, it was just so ready to be thrown right after Marton got the disc in the power position, and it was executed beautifully. So we're back where we were, Benji.
And we saw in their game against Austria yesterday that Marton was a thrower who had a whole range of tricks in his arsenal, and they're just executing the deep shot effectively. And I think a lot of what you see quite a lot in the mixed division is teams who don't huck very well to women, thinking that maybe a lot of the time it's men as well, maybe thinking with a smaller target they're not as comfortable. But it's good to see a young team like Hungary saying, well, I don't care who it is, if someone's free, we'll throw it to them, and putting that trust.
That's right. Benji, maybe you're not aware that the Hungarian team Halod is organizing, it's in its 2nd year right now, a sponsored tournament or a series of tournaments called the V4. So the Polish are invited, the Hungarians, Slovaks, and the Czech Republic. and the Austrians as well are included. And it's 3 tournaments every year, in all of them in Hungary, but like I said, sponsored, so very cheap. Oh, this is going to be out.
Yeah, they were moving the disc really nicely until that point, but the disc was just maybe a bit too much on it, so she had to backpedal ever so slightly, and that foot lands out of bounds. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So basically, they did this to make sure that there's a lot of development coming to Hungary, and I think it pays off because the youth program in Hungary is working really well, and we see the fruits of it here in another point for Hungary in. Sort of impersonated in those young female players. I have played against them personally, and they just do a wonderful job. They're all very quick, very athletic. I think taken from other sports, have previous sports experience. And also their throwing abilities are quite high level.
Yeah, they've certainly taken athletes from a number of sports. So they've former soccer players, former tennis players, CrossFit athletes, and really working from a strong athletic base and then working on teaching them the game and making sure they're sharpening their throws. We see their good spirit. Like the Lithuanian player called himself down, and this is a lovely throw, just about sneaks it through. Might have even got a tip on it on the way, but it's a downwind break for Hungary, and they wrestled the advantage back, 4-3 up at the moment. You talk about as well the Hungarian youth on this Hungarian side. The average age is only 18 and a half. A third of this team are going to be playing in the under-17 division.
Wow.
At EUC in August in Wrocław in Poland.
Well, I'll be there, Benji. I'll be excited to watch for these kids.
I'm hoping to be in that. I'm hoping to be there as well. Actually, I remember doing EUC a couple of years ago when it was out in Veenendaal in the Netherlands, and that was a whole lot of fun. And so I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be there again later this year.
Very fun for the Czech teams, scoring a bronze medal in both U20 and U17 women's. Very exciting, historical landmarks set at that tournament. I wasn't there personally, but I was a heated fan behind the streaming.
Yeah, certainly bodes well for the future of Czech Ultimate. And given the way the Hungarians are performing in this game, the future of Hungary looks bright as well. And obviously, even if the results don't necessarily go away, the fact that you're giving so many of these really young players this experience on the international stage is only going to pay dividends. So Visotskis looks around, he seems to want to wind up that big, deep forehand, and oh, he's on the floor, and he still manages to get the throwaway before he gets stalled out. Now they're just going to take things a little bit more calmly, shooting it over the top there. Player wide open is Petruskaita. Now Visotskis has it back. Pivots around and zings it into the end zone for Bobina. And we're tied back up at 4s. Both sides look like they've found their rhythm a little bit now.
That's right. So now I'm sort of confident to say that this might be a very, very tight game until the end. What time is it right now? How much? So
we're about 35 minutes into this game, and so.
Oh, that is not too much, really.
So it's still quite a long time left. Games played to 90 minutes.
I think 100.
100 minutes.
It is 100 minutes.
Sorry.
With a 7-minute halftime, which is included in those 100 minutes.
My fault.
No worries, no worries. It changes all the time. But we are in the middle of the day, so the heat, I think it's going to get a little better with this wind towards the evening, but right now I think it's at its worst.
Yeah, 31 degrees Celsius outside at the moment, so it is baking, and apparently it's only going to get hotter this week as well. So I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a typical Briton. I don't really do that well in the sun.
Well, I do still complain sometimes, but I have to say that it is the perfect weather for me. I much prefer higher temperatures. Like, I would rather be very hot than a little bit cold.
Interesting.
Because I just feel like, you know, all the muscles are super loose. There's not that much danger of an injury. You just have to stay hydrated, keep cool, hide in the shade as much as you can. We've had some discussions yesterday at the captain's meeting, sort of people complaining that there won't be enough, or there isn't enough water and ice provided at each field and stuff like that. I just feel like all of us coming here knew that this was going to be a hot weather tournament, and you got to come ready. Like, you shouldn't rely as much on, you know, what the venue provides.
You should have it in your preparation.
That's right. All the teams should feel more responsibility for their own thing.
Nice adjustment on that catch by Bogar. Now shooting for the end zone. Defender is blindsided, and it goes over his head into the waiting hands of the receiver for the goal, and the Hungarians retake the lead at 5-4. Both sides now look a bit more adept at dealing with these zones.
And the Hungarian fans very excited in the stands.
There was a huge Hungarian contingent yesterday, and maybe not quite so many today, but they're still being loud and making their presence felt on that far sideline.
Still a nice full stand. They spread out so they make it look fuller.
Smart. That's very smart. And also, they've done the other smart thing of getting in the stand that's in the shade.
That's right. The one that's got
a little bit of coverage. Speaking of coverage, we are bringing you coverage live from the European Ultimate Championships here in Győr in Hungary. Benjamin Rees alongside Rahel Tosnerova. Bringing you coverage from two fields all week. This field here, Field 2, broadcast live on Fancy and on the EUF Facebook page and YouTube channel. The other field in the stadium.
The one fact we haven't mentioned yet was that this field is the only field that's artificial grass. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I think so too. All the other fields have wonderful, and I mean wonderful, grass all over. There's no fields that would have like dirt spots or holes or anything like that. Just beautiful fields all around. And I think this is also a factor. I just feel like the disc sometimes flies quite differently over the artificial grass than it does on normal grass.
I know this is something that disc can't quite be scooped up off the turf. I know this is something that Stefan and Joanna talked about in the last game we're during this pitch, how the heat really radiates off the black rubber crumb pellets, and sometimes that little heat maybe just can alter the flight of the disc a little bit more, and it makes it so difficult to keep yourself cool.
Hungary moving slowly upwind, but getting dangerously close to the end zone.
Shot for goal, and well defended. Just getting a hand in there was Kundelait.
Last second save by Lithuanian defender.
We'll see how the Lithuanians can deal with this Hungarian zone once more. Disc trapped on the sideline. Swing opens up acres of space to Kaminskas. Looking downfield. Just having to take a reset, just somehow slips through his hands. It was only about a post box, and somehow it just got sent through.
Hungary picks up right away. And Marton finds his receiver in the end zone. And that's a break, another upwind break for Hungary. Wow.
Taking a 6-4 lead in this game. You can tell that the Hungarians are really fired up, and they're really enjoying this, and the Lithuanian heads look like they've dropped a little bit. I feel like they should be performing better than this, and they haven't quite accessed that top gear, and a little bit frustrated with themselves after they put on a good performance in their first game as to why their form has somehow failed them.
I do have a tip, though, of what happened in the last point. All of those throws that Lithuanians were throwing were very dangerous in terms of being very low from the start and the wind just pushing them down along the way. So we saw a couple of lucky catches down at the bottom, but that's something you just shouldn't be throwing. If you're going downwind, you gotta either have a nice straight throw, or you gotta go for sort of raise your arm up and go from high above. So if that had happened once, but there was a couple of throws like that in the last point, and unfortunately resulted in a costly break for Lithuania.
Yeah, you've got to use the wind to your advantage. Just use that high release, just sit it on the wind. Low catch off the pull is made, and now they're just trying to do a little bit of give-go, gain some yards, taking a reset, going back towards their own end zone now. Everything's very cramped and congested for Lithuania, and that's allowing the Hungarian defenders to all come in close to the disc. Tries to squeeze that one through, and it's going to go out of this near sideline, and another break chance now for Hungary.
I mean, again, that inside backhand, it's a great idea, but you got to remember which way you're going to put on the right execution type.
Marton takes a reset the Saloki. Now centered into the middle of the pitch. Continuation goes back to Marton. Players wide open downfield. This Lithuanian zone is leaving players in acres of space, and Hungary doing a very good job of finding them. Marton has it once more now, looking downfield. I wonder what he's thinking about throwing. Just tries to, maybe a bit of a no-look, get the defender going the other way, but Monika Schlemaiter did a very good job of making sure that she was in the right position and slapped it out of the sideline.
She just needed a little touch, that's all that was necessary. And now Lithuania again in a tight spot, but a beautiful hack that finally lands in.
Mendelis does an excellent job of making sure he's got that foot inbounds and picking the other foot up, towing on the sideline. Now swung into the centre. Throw sits up a little bit, but is well caught, and continuation to the far sideline. Petrovaita.
So interestingly, the Hungarian zone forcing them to the sideline. I can't figure this zone out. Oh!
It seems like the Lithuanians at this moment. That time a nice leading pass through, but again, as you mentioned, sometimes these throws are a bit low. They're just a bit more difficult to catch and couldn't quite cling on, and now Marton is going to pick up. He's looking deep. He's going to do it as well, blading towards that far sideline, utilising the height mismatch.
Wow.
Finds Barnabas Zabori, one of the tallest players on the team.
And there was a gender mismatch, so it was a good look from Marton. Even though it was a difficult throw, sort of had to be going a little upwind.
And Zabori, the former beach volleyball player, gets over and up the net that time to bring the disc back in over the receiver. So 7-4 now, the Hungarians. The Lithuanians look a little bit rattled, as well they probably should be.
That's right. I mean, there will be plenty of chances for the Lithuanians to score the upwind point. I mean, well, right. Okay, now they're back on downwind. Okay, right. But I really liked how the Hungarians put all their effort into getting the break they got early in the game right back, so they wouldn't have to worry about it too much, and they didn't get into this situation that the Lithuanians are in right now, where they sort of get a couple of breaks in a row.
It feels like the Lithuanian intensity dropped a little bit after they got the upwind. Maybe they felt like, okay, we've got the upwind, now we can kind of take off, maybe take their foot off a little bit, and the Hungarians have punished them for that.
It seems like they've maybe, yeah, like you said, lost concentration a tiny bit, and those are the decisive factors. Like, you stop thinking, or you stop reminding yourself of what kind of throws are available in that wind direction, and you lose the focus for a second, and that generates the turnover that your opponent can exploit. On the other hand, both teams are showing great effort on both O and D. I really liked some of the moments and some of the looks that we have seen so far, and we're still in the first half. So I'm not giving up on Lithuania just yet. On the other hand, Hungary's definitely taken them on a ride.
Yeah, plenty of time left in this game for the Lithuanians to mount a fight back, but obviously they're giving themselves a bit of work to do. The larger the deficit gets, the harder it gets to claw back.
Have you been to Lithuania before, Benji?
You know, I don't think I have, actually.
Me either.
It's on my list of places. I would love to go to Vilnius and have a bit of an explore, but I haven't had a chance yet. And this is my first time in Hungary as well.
Oh, is it? Right. We've been coming here for the V4 tournaments, but I can definitely recommend. The summer edition is close to Balaton, which is the big lake, sort of a kid's pool. You can walk for 50 meters and it's still up to your knees, the water, but just an amazing place to spend a weekend at.
I have a story about injuring myself getting into a very shallow lake that I won't tell on the stream in case I get in trouble for it.
Well, maybe during halftime.
Yes, maybe. That throw is low and it's going to be called down. Bobina thinks he got his hand underneath it.
Well, definitely a great dive. Let's have a look at the replay if the camera got it.
Yeah, we're just going to see it. It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. I think it's probably caught, the back edge has probably caught the ground before he's got his hand underneath it.
That's right.
But they weren't sure, so they've sent it back and Lithuania retained possession, and it was pretty tight. Even on the replay, it wasn't necessarily conclusive. This is a bit of a speculative skyball for Lithuania, and with a maelstrom of people underneath it, it's hit to the ground by Hungary, but in those situations, it's almost inevitable that there's a bit of contact. It's not a great throw necessarily.
That's right. These are just very annoying situations for all the players involved because you did feel contact, so you do want to call the foul. At the same time, it's been caused by your player who threw a sort of hospital pass that was floating in the air. So, but
yeah.
No call from the Lithuanians. So great self-awareness and great.
I agree with you. In those situations, I think it's always better to call it, have a discussion, then retract it if you need to, rather than maybe hold any resentment or maybe just.
Right.
It's always better to talk, just to have that conversation, and it's good that that's built into the rules. So the Lithuanians getting the disc back off that turf from Hungary. There's a swing available here if they want it. Instead, selling the defenders downfield, using the eyes to manipulate them, and then a little high release flick towards the far side of the end zone.
With the receiver ready, that's right. So Lithuania holds this downwind point. Important hold for them. Now they can really refocus on getting their energy up and getting back to playing hard D. Maybe if I were them, maybe I would try to switch to Mandy, which we haven't seen all game so far, I think.
Yeah, they're a team that's
relying on the zones, both the teams.
And I totally understand the Lithuanians going with the zone in this weather, but they're a team that generally is a bit bigger and a bit more physical than their opponents. This is a very young Hungarian team, as we've mentioned a number of times, and obviously they're still growing both as players but physically as well. I know there are a couple of players who are pretty tall for their age, but even so, there's a so number 13, who I don't think is on this point, but Andras Mereda, he's 14 and he's already 6'2", but generally they've still generally they've still got more growing to do, and so maybe just getting a bit more physical, getting their bodies in the way and playing a match defense could work here for the Lithuanians. We'll see what they do on this defensive point, and they are indeed going to go one-on-one. Martin has it, finds Bogart underneath. It's a bit too far in front, sticks out that left palm, but bounces off.
Will Hungary let the chance to take the half slip so easily, or will they manage to get a D?
And with the score count rising, tries to laser it into the end zone. Visionary throw. I did not really see that developing, but trust that Kalugin was going to read it and bring it in, and he did so. And it's an upwind break for Lithuania. That certainly found a little bit of fire now in the back end of this first half.
Wow, so an important score for Lithuania. This is good news for them. Scoring an upwind point of their own as well. And I've heard a signal for halftime. So
I think that would still give us half-time at 8, I believe.
That's right. So halftime at 8. Right. So no, that was just just a reminder that the halftime could be coming soon.
So, yeah, as well as the traditional half at 8, there is a timed halftime. So if no one's reached that by 15 minutes, you add 1 to the high score, and then you play a half-time cap. But that will just give us half at 8. I believe that's how it works. I am more than happy to be corrected. You are more than welcome to @ me on Twitter. You can find me @Benjamin Rees, and tell me how wrong I am on just about everything, really.
Well, I think I'm about the worst commentator in the world because I do not have a Twitter account, Benji. So anyone who wants to communicate with me and give me some feedback,
Just shout into the void and we'll somehow pick it up.
That's right. But I do actually have a Facebook profile and an Instagram account. So if you feel like messaging me, just go for it. Just find me under my name on Facebook or on Instagram, Rachel KA. And then number 5, because that's my number.
Number 5, 24 for me. And actually, speaking of Instagram, I highly recommend you follow us at ulti.tv, where we're
content.
We are Instagramming all of our exploits this weekend, a little bit behind the scenes action as well for you. So you would have seen our a little bit of Saturday night pints last night. It's really nice actually to get the opportunity to go into Dior and see what a beautiful city it is.
So Hungary going upwind again.
Oh, the throw is just a little bit high, and Bogar can't bring it in, and Lithuanians want it all in one. It's going to be for no one in the end, though. 3 players began to converge, but none of them could get there in time.
Just a laser throw. Again, had that been released a little higher, I think it could have had a little more flow. But, I mean, if, right? So we'll just get back to the action on the field. Hungarians working it upwind again. Yeah, the one advantage for the Lithuanians is it is trap the Hungarians in difficult field position, and that's a nice D. Great body positioning by Monika Schlemaita. Getting a hand in the way. And we'll see what they can do on this possession. They could bring us tied at 7. Going to shoot deep. Oh, off the hands of the first receiver and too far out for the second. Mendelis went up with his right hand and couldn't quite pour it in. Mendelis, the captain of this side. He's played internationally before when Lithuania were represented in the Open Division at the World Ultimate and Guts Championships 2016 back in London. We have Bogart picking up the disc again. She will take the timeout for her team. The Hungarians sort of feeling how the importance of taking the timeout right now, the halftime right now. Yeah, a little bit fatigued and maybe just thinking, okay, well, let's get some water on, let's get out the heat of the day maybe a little bit, let's keep ourselves hydrated, keep our brains engaged and make sure we can score this point and not give the Lithuanians any more of a sniff going into this second half, or the end of this first half, excuse me. So in terms of mixed division, we're using mixed gender ratio rule B this week. So that's correct. And Benji, it is the last time that we're going to be using it at an adult tournament. So we will be switching to the so-called A rule. So what's the difference between the two rules for people at home who might not know? Well, I believe the A rule has been played at the EUC this year. So basically, you start by the 4 women on the line. You start with more women on the line, right? On offense, and then you switch to 4 men, and then the ratio switches every 2 points. So that's rule number 8 that will be employed in the future adult WIFDF and EUF tournaments. And the B rule that we're employing right now at this tournament for the last time is basically a gender zone, which is determined at the beginning of the game, and then then whoever is in that end zone decides what the numbers are going to be. And then the dictating end zone switches at halftime. Correct. So mixed gender ratio rule, which we'll see from next year. I've also heard called the ABBA rule, because you play A and then BB, AA. Oh, the ABBA rule. What a good clue. Anytime I can invoke ABBA is good for me. I don't think a better pop band will ever exist, and I will fight people on that. So Bogart with the disc. Hungarian downfield cutter set very far deep, trying to gain a lot of yards on the underneath, and they do. Pantakas. Bogart gets the upline this time. Faking around. Not a huge amount of separation downfield, does find a cutter coming free. Hassani looks around, trying to motion for someone to get free, looks at a reset.
just about manages to squeeze it through to Bogar. Bid comes through from Lithuania, but it's going to be just shy.
The Hungarians using Bogar quite a bit. She gets every other reset, and she's got those upwind forehands ready.
And squeezing it on just at the final hurdle.
That was great offense by the Hungarians.
And the Lithuanians are in no mood to hang about, lashing it deep and through the hands of Mendelis.
On the other hand, it was the only sensible option. There was a open player with separation, and the Hungarians yet again have the entire field to go through.
But maybe just a touch too much Tabasco on the backhand. Just couldn't quite bring it in when it hit the hands.
Like I said before, a little more awareness of the wind direction and where it's coming from and what are the throw choices that I have.
And the Lithuanians thinking, okay, this is a shot that's on, but if it doesn't come in, then at least we're going to make the Hungarians work the full length of the field again.
Like I said, very good decision. The Lithuanians, now we can see them set up in front of their O players, so trying to not to let them in-cut at all.
Yeah, trying to bait the big deep shot against this wind, which has died down a little bit at the moment. And the throw comes out of her hand a little bit odd, and it's going to give Lithuania great field possession for a chance to break here and tie us up once more. Galba, see him try to position his cutters downfield, brings the disc into play, looking around. Cutter comes to the front of the end zone, toes the line for the score. It was looking at the wrong line, so he's well in the end zone. The Lithuanians break, tie us up at 7 apiece, and that means we've got a Galaxy point.
Yeah, not a big fan of that name, but why not?
Steph Rapazzo's right here. Tell him to his face you don't like Galaxy point.
Maybe I just don't like the word galaxy, I don't know.
But
I do love Steph, so I think that evens it out.
It does. And we'll see with the game that's had a couple of momentum swings back and forth. Both sides trying to get the upper hand going into the second half, and the Lithuanians will have to turn it and work it against the wind. The Hungarians in the power position in this game at the moment.
So both teams have scored upwind. Both teams have generated breaks for them, and now it's the Galaxy point. So I'm not gonna say it might be another turning point, because there have been a couple that didn't really decide anything. So we will just let you guys make your own imaginary tips in your heads, and we will just watch as the Lithuanian defense runs down their own pull.
So with the wind whipping, the disc is pulled, it's going to sit, die towards the far sideline, just about level with the brick mark. We'll see what the Hungarian offense has in store. Marton wants the big shot. This is going to sit for an age. Can she read it? It's going towards the back of the end zone. And just a touch too far.
But again, not the worst idea. I mean, you just move the disc as far as you can, and then you defend it right away. But I think the Lithuanians are ready for this chance.
Kaminskas will pick up for the side in green. See the Lithuanian flag on that right sleeve as well. It's Gedvilaita working it around the back. Zone look from the Hungarians. Does get the turn again. That throw low, couldn't quite, got a hand underneath it, but couldn't make the catch stick on contact with the ground. Oh, cheeky little scuba there. Love that one. Oh, and that time just a miscommunication. Was not expecting the throw to go, and they can gain a few yards here before this defense gets set. That throw pops up a little bit, but is comfortably caught. Kundalite on the far sideline. Here's now Kaminskas. Resnikaita. Kaminskas. Staying calm and staying patient. We'll see as the field compresses whether they can keep their wits about them. Visoskis, who's had a lot of love with inside backhands, gets another one there into the teeth of the cup. Now threading it through that front line.
Pressure's rising. Lithuanians taking it easy. Not worried about looking for the dump, moving the disc a bit backwards.
Yeah, the tension is palpable here. Schlemeiter, the throw pops up and is gobbled up by the defender, Gabor Szabo. And now the disc is going deep, looking for Forster. And Kundalai makes a great defensive play, getting a hand away. Lost a few yards on the tip, but they'll be happy to get the turn. And I think she's going to have to take an injury sub as well. I'm not sure quite what happened there, whether maybe she got a bit of contact as she swatted it away, or maybe just came up a little bit late.
Foot, maybe. Yeah, it seems like it's her ankle or something. Yeah, so maybe landed after that high jump a little off. So that looked very promising from the Lithuanians, getting all the way to the end zone. We'll see if they can do it again.
Again, throw a bit low, that time is caught. Kaminskas faking through. That comes off as she comes through the cup. Everything's very compressed for Lithuania. Almost a handoff, it was that close. You can see, pretty frustrated with how this offense is spaced out. Pivots around, rakes a flick across the pitch. Kaminskas finds Vysotskis, holds the disc in the left hand as he remonstrates with his cutters, ordering them into where he wants them to go.
I think it's very surprising that the Hungarians don't really try to take away those dump throws on this closer sideline.
Maybe they're happy for the disc to go backwards. Maybe thinking that, oh, if we get turnovers there, they're losing field position as well as giving us the disc.
But Lithuania in the red zone again.
This is where it struggled for them last time. Schlemeiter, just back to Resnikaiter, and now here's Vysotskis. Shows that low release, but puts it away for the moment. Here's back to Schlemeiter. Into the middle, finds Petroskaiter.
Very patient game.
We'll see how long they can keep it ticking over, and whether at some point maybe it just comes to the boil and they just rush things a little bit. Working it now down that far sideline. Maybe thinking about squeezing in that front cone, but not yet. Oh, lovely throw. Somehow worms it around with that inside backhand around that front line of defense. And the Lithuanians, after being 7-4 down, get 4 in a row, break on Galaxy Point and take an 8-7 half-time lead, Rachel.
What a turn of events, Benji. I cannot say I... well, speechless right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is very unexpected. 7-4 to 8-7. That is just excellent effort by the Lithuanians.
It's almost the reverse of what happened in their first game against Great Britain, where they came out very strong and then fell away at the end. It feels like this time they lost a step early on, and they've now found like another surge to come past the Lithuanians. You can see the crowd.
That's right,
in
Benji.
The distance.
Well, I know you. I can tell that you're trying to take away the attention from the story you promised us for halftime. But we do have 7 minutes, so.
Okay, I genuinely I'd forgotten about this. So there's a tournament in Ghent in Belgium called G-Spot, which I highly recommend everyone goes to. Gentle's Supreme Party Oh Yeah tournament, and it's a wonderful sports complex called the Blamis, and there's beautiful fields there. There's a big lake that you can go and swim in as well. It's got like during the summer as well. There's a couple of water slides and stuff like that, and. After the big part, and we did during the day, you're more than welcome to go and have a swim in the lake or whatever. And
but you can't go on the slides.
No, you can go on the slides, but apparently when you're not allowed to go in the lake is at 4 in the morning after the Saturday night party when there's no one around. And I was thinking, okay, some of my teammates are having a skinny dip in the lake. Do I want to join them? It's like maybe I do. And I think, okay, the best way to do it is just take it off and jump in. And I didn't realise that the lake at one end is not as deep as the lake is at the other end. So I go to jump in and it's only about yay deep, and my knee goes the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, so for those of you ultimate communities who do have some sort of prize ceremony of like best players, best teams, jump start of the year, stuff like that, we do have that. We've just started that tradition in the Czech Republic, but we do also have the golden raspberry, which goes to all the dumbest things that happen.
That was it was not it was certainly not my finest moment. I will.
Well, then I will just join in and let you in on mine. About a month ago, the Czech mixed nationals were happening, so we are in the final with my home team 3SB against Prague Devils. They're doing a great job, pushing us hard. We are up, but we could use a little more breaks. Eventually we won. I'm not gonna 12-10 or something like that. So I set up. Everything is sort of congested around the disc. Our D got a D and is now on O. But I'm confident in the handlers. I know somebody will eventually get the upline cut and get into the power position. So I'm setting up a deep cut, sort of waiting for it, and then I see the movement happening. So I cut down, waiting for the deep shot. And we were sort of playing on a field where 2 ultimate fields were set up.
Yep.
I was chasing the wrong disc. So
I'm
cutting so hard because I see the disc. I'm like, if the disc comes back in, I see the big backhand hug. I'm like, if it comes back in, I definitely got it. I got it. And then right as the disc is really coming back into the field, I see the 2 players from the other field running into my field, and I'm like, no! So by that time, of course, our disc has already hit my defender that was far behind me. So I think I'm definitely winning the Golden Raspberry this year.
Ultimate players, we are.
I have never seen that happen before in my entire career.
It's a moment, certainly.
Well, I hope it's not the only thing I'll be remembered for. So
I'm sure it won't be.
Excellent. So we have teams. We have the Hungarians already going. No, that's someone else. Okay, I took off my glasses to look good on the camera, and now it's embarrassing because it's another
I think the glasses are a good look. What's wrong with wearing glasses?
No, nothing. I think on most people they just look great, and you shouldn't be. Well, here's what I'm doing actually. Besides the glasses, besides the look. I do take them off because eventually. No, don't do that. Okay, I'll look in the camera and I'll be a proud glass person. I take them off because I decided that I will train my eyes and lose all my dioptries. I have -3.5. So wish me luck.
I don't think I've been to the optician in about I don't know. A good, probably coming on for a decade now, so I've no idea how good my eyes are.
Oh, well, as long as you can see the teams, the jerseys, the numbers, I think you're
Thankfully, both of these teams are relatively good with jersey numbers. The Lithuanians are a bit certainly easier to read than the Hungarians, but it's generally, I think the jersey numbers this week that I've seen so far this week have been good.
Well, Belarus, still my favorite. Check them out if you tune in to the last stream. You could see their game and you could check out their jerseys.
I've always liked the Czech red and blue hoops. I've always liked those.
Stripes, yeah. No, not the biggest fan, especially not in this heat.
Yeah, maybe not actually.
And I do think they look slightly better on the guys, just because you get more of the more of the stripes in, and it's like a bigger.
Yeah. The ones I really liked actually at EBUC when the Czech Masters had the powder blue units.
Oh, that's right. The hockey jerseys.
I was a big fan of those. I think more teams should wear powder blue. That's my.
Or baby pink, for that matter.
I have played on a team where we had like our 2 kits were sunshine yellow or hot pink. It was I think what the kids call a look.
So, as the sun moves slowly across the sky, leaving some of our equipment uncovered and overheated, we have Hungarians getting a D, I think, and now coming in on offense.
Starting the second half now, with an inside flick. It's going to float. Really well read by Bogar. Gets the disc out of her hands quickly to Sabori. Just gone backwards and into the turf, and Lithuania with a chance to extend their advantage coming into this second half. Looking downfield, going for the big shot over the head of the defenders. Well read. Bid came in a little bit late, but Kalugin, a man originally from Russia but now living in Lithuania, made the catch, gets a hug from his teammate as well. And
Marton hitting the head of the receiver instead of the disc, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then a nice slap of hands afterwards. Everyone's all okay. Kalugin, actually, his nickname that translated to English as fragile, because he's got one of these players who's had a bit of a checkered injury history. And even though he's playing, he's actually got carrying a bit of a knock this weekend. Apparently, one of his toes sometimes dislocates when he's wearing cleats, and that is a slightly gruesome injury, I would say.
And an interesting feature of your own body, especially when you're only 26 years old. So, I'm sorry, Benji, I've lost count. Was that a break for...
that is a break for Lithuania.
It was a break for Lithuania, so they jump off to 9-7.
Yeah, strong start, getting the downwind break to begin this second half, and that's why it was so important for them as well to get that upwind going into the first half, going that now they can cash in the downwind afterwards. And this ball is going to sit and float, and it might come to me, it might come to me. And no, it didn't come to me, but it didn't come far off.
And Hungary playing virtually with just the same 7 players, maybe exchanging 1 or 2, but I believe Marton and Bogar haven't had a sub for a decent amount of points.
Yeah, they're certainly doing a lot of the legwork and handwork as well. And Marton looks deep for Bogar. That connection's been pretty good, and Kundalai gets a hand his way. The Eurostar knocks it out of the path of Bogar, and Lithuanians now could extend their advantage.
That's right. It looked like a nice shot, but underestimated height of the defender.
Yeah, maybe baiting the deep throw a little bit, knowing that they've got that height match up there. Swung to this near sideline. Finds Agnes Schlemaiter.
And I think it's doing Lithuania good that they're not under as much pressure scoring those breaks. Oh, just as no, saved, nice. That with a little bit more calm on offense going upwind, they can work wonders.
They're going to shoot big. Looking for Kundalai. Oh, and 2 players take each other out for Hungary, and Kundalai's left all alone. It's centering into the path. Kaminskas gets high to bring it in, and now they're trying to chill it out a little bit, or maybe not. Defender comes in, but can't quite get there in time. They're getting so close to the Hungarians, and somehow not quite getting there in time. Lithuanians playing, it felt like a couple of get-out-of-jail-free cards at this point. Visotskis with a high release backhand is going to pop. Oh, tried to toe the line, did Kundalait, but...
3 or 4 of those Lithuanian passes where they got really lucky there.
And that time just tries to a line drive down the center of the field. Visotskis picks up quickly and just straight up drop, it seemed, from Petroskaita, but I think maybe there was a foul on the throw, perhaps. Disc is going back.
And I saw a signal for a contest as well.
So checks back in. Lithuania retain possession. Fakes downfield. Finds Kundalait on this sideline. Fakes the low release backhand. Cup crashes in and goes behind to Visotskis. Kundalait has it. I think there was a call that maybe she was out of bounds. Looks like she did have that right foot on the sideline when she made that catch.
Steph on the sideline. So the players are gonna go and have a replay, but Steph.
I think it's possible for them to come and have a look.
Mike, you got it? Yes, you know.
So Kundalai will come to Mike Palmer and have a look on the screen, on the camera. Yeah, that looked like the heel was on the line. So
Does call herself out of bounds.
good spirit.
Mike Palmer getting it done, Mr. Ulti TV. And that's the advantage of having the replays, that you can have
Look
it.
at us, professional sport.
Exactly, and actually, obviously, it's to say look at the replay, but it's a very good job as well that our camera crew are so good, but they have the replay queued up and ready to go. And Martin shoots deep, and it goes over everyone, and there's a bit of contact in the end zone. I think the disc had already gone. She goes to check to make sure that her opponent is okay, and a nice slap of hands. And the disc will go back to Lithuania. So Visauskis picks up once more.
Really needs to pay attention to his backhands. A lot of them have been, this one was really good. Some of them have been going way too high up, I feel like.
They've either been beautiful or pretty dicey.
That's right.
And it seems like there's not necessarily a middle ground. And this one looks beautiful from Visauskis. Well read. Brought down by Kalugin, and there's a receiver wide open in the end zone.
Bogar sort of not making the right decision, choosing to mark the receiver instead of covering the person in the end zone. However, here's Lithuania with another break, 10-7.
So that's now 6 points in a row for Lithuania after being 7-4 down, and they've really got a hold of this game, grabbed it by the scruff of the neck.
I think the fatigue is settling in on the Hungarians.
Yeah, playing very short lines, not necessarily in terms of height, but in terms of numbers. They're playing the same, trotting the same players out over and over again, and they're looking a little bit worse for wear, struggling a bit in the hot Dior sun.
And Lithuanian offense looking much cleaner and much better with this buffer they have created of breaks, where they don't feel, you know, as much pressure of moving the disc forward and just, you know, sticking to their original plan, which I think is just playing it nice and easy, taking it around, waiting for the window to open, and then take the opportunity.
Benji Reese alongside Rahel Tashnerova, bringing you coverage from EUC, the European Ultimate Championships 2019, here from Dior in Hungary. This pitch being streamed live on fanseat.com and on the EUF Facebook page and YouTube, and we've got action from the stadium fields as well today, that being broadcast exclusively on fanseat.com, and there's still plenty of games still to come. If you want to have the other screen, maybe the other pitch and a little picture down in the bottom of your screen, I won't tell anyone. They've got Ireland versus Denmark in the mixed division with Liam Grant and Hannah Pendlebury. Then coming up on this pitch, women's action between Ireland and Ukraine with Hannah and Joe on the call, and men's action in the stadium between Germany and Italy with Ravi and Liam. And then last game of the day on this pitch, Steph Rapazzo is going to be joined by our resident Austrian Christina Obermeier for Germany versus Austria in the women's division, whereas I'm going to be over to the stadium where myself and Hannah will be calling another women's division game between Netherlands and the Czech Republic.
That's right, Benji, you're going to be watching me.
And that's a little bit of a, obviously as commentators we're always unbiased, but we have a little bit of, we hold a little bit of a flame for teams with other commentators in. So split loyalties in that game, because obviously we've got you and your sister for the Czech Republic, but Sarah Sparks as well is captaining the Netherlands. So
That's
a lot of commentary interest in that game. So I'm eagerly awaiting. I think when I looked at the schedule for the day, that was one of the circled games I had. So very much looking forward to that one.
Me too. And I hope you guys all join us, even though this is a fancy streamed game only.
It's certainly worth the subscription. There's a huge archive of games up there, and there's
100%.
so much action to be bringing you during the week. It's worth doing. All that throw pops up and over the head of the target of Bogar, and Lithuania now looking to just open up an even larger advantage, looking in towards the end zone.
Lithuania having a short field to go through.
Just about punching that in, didn't make the catch necessarily particularly cleanly, but Gent Velaita does get it to stick in there, and it's now 11-7.
And the Hungarians looking a little given up at this point. A difficult position for them to be in after you've played excellent first half, sort of stealing quite a few breaks off of an experienced team.
Yeah, it feels like the fuel's come out of the tank a little bit here, and
Right.
I must admit I am surprised that I haven't seen the Hungarians open up their lines a bit more here.
That's right. Those are difficult decisions that are left for the coaches, and I'm glad our sport has come as far as almost, I would say, every team here having a non-playing coach. Of course, some of the bigger nations, bigger communities bringing 2 head coaches, 3 assistant coaches, 2 physios, 1 medical, etc., etc.
And then somewhere like Lithuania, there's only 150 Ultimate players in Lithuania pretty much altogether.
Oh, wow.
So, and only 30 of those are women, so as we just see the Lithuanian player doing push-ups after that. Should we describe it as a suboptimal pull? Went out of bounds pretty early, and certainly not his finest moment of the week.
Is that why he was doing the push-up? Was that him pulling?
I assume so.
Oh, really? So a wrong pull on the Lithuanian teams means 10 push-ups for you right away. No matter what, you can't go play the D. You just gotta do your 10 push-ups first.
Thankfully, the disc was so far out of bounds that he had time. Hungary's crowd getting loud now. Underneath goes. Looking for a continuation downfield. Bogard gets free, but the disc can't make it there. A slap of hands, maybe it just got a little touch on the mark as well. Picking up quickly. Oh, low backhand into the centre of the pitch, just about scooped off the turf by Schlemeiter. And now, looking deep. Trying to toe the sideline, and the Hungarian defender does the right thing, doesn't give him a shot at it.
Another 10 push-ups, maybe? No?
I think that one was a little bit better. There was a potential chance of that being caught, or at least had an attempt at being caught, but the Hungarian defender closed the gap. It sat outside for long enough that it probably would have had to be a greatest attempt to get it to stay in bounds.
I
but
agree. So Hungarians with a few options again.
Marton looks deep, over the head of the first player, and just about getting a hand in there, the number 11 shirt of Ruta Gedvilaita.
A second D in this point for her already. Great field awareness or disc awareness. And the Lithuanians set up with a reset behind the thrower.
Gedvilaita is also a basketball player, plays in the Lithuanian Women's Basketball League, and using that height to her advantage there. Maybe a stud on the disc, perhaps. They're just going to have a check, make sure that it's okay.
Yes, there will be an exchange happening. Also, this is the last European tournament or EUF sanctioned tournament where when the captains cannot agree on the disc, whether they will play with a Euro disc or an Ultrastar, Ultrastar will be the default choice. But this is the last tournament where this is going to happen. So any next game and any next tournaments will mean that if there's disagreement on the type of disc, Euro disc will be the preferred choice.
Interesting.
The Hungarians with a throwaway or a defended half deep shot.
Yeah, the coverage was tight, but they put it up anyway, and Maton couldn't get there before the defender. So another chance to extend the advantage for the Lithuanians.
But they will be starting from the furthest corner by their own end zone.
Yeah, right in the coffin corner, the difficult sideline. Wind going left to right and towards the camera. Trying to get a backhand around. It is going to come back in bounds. Well tied in by Gedvilaita, having herself a very good point. Takes the reset back to Galba. Looking for that high release backhand again. This time the defender's going to be able to close. Went back to that well one time too many.
So that was Harsani. We have seen him on a couple of offensive and defensive points. Always making the right cuts in the right spaces. And on the D, also being indispensable for his national team.
Yeah, arguably the standout defender of this Hungarian contingent. And now they're moving the disc very quickly on offense. The crowd's getting loud, cheering on their charges. Maton, end zone eyes, pivots around for a beautiful backhand for the goal. Finds Julia Halas, and the Hungarians get their first point of the second half.
Let's have another look at Julia with only 40. Oh, there's a call, travel call. Okay, travel call. The defender looked quite startled in terms of how Marton got around him. But nevertheless, Halas, only 14 years of age.
He's already been playing for 3 years.
And already at 14 in the European Championships. On home turf, actually.
It must be a phenomenal feeling to represent your country and to represent them on the home field as well. And they're saying in their little team bio that for them they don't see this as a reward. It's a responsibility. It's not like we've made the national team. This is our end goal. There's work to be done from here. They're building with an eye to the future. Their goal is to reach 2028 Olympics if Ultimate gets there, or if not, the 2029 World Games. They're definitely building for the future. Part of the selection criteria is whether this team can be not just available for this tournament, but for a decade in the future. They really got that long-term vision in this squad selection in mind.
And as Benji, you were talking about the responsibility, I have to say I have seen most of the players on the Hungarian national team helping around with sort of volunteer tasks. We were talking about number 96, Harsani. He was actually the one who was checking me into my accommodation yesterday night. So lots of responsibility for these players, not just on the field but off the field as well. And speaking about the vision and long-term plan for your communities, what a great way. Like right now we see people being just startled about the level of Italy and their under-24 open team especially, but also other parts of the program. This is nothing that has happened overnight. The Italian Federation has worked for a decade at least on the development, and now they're just now it's all bearing its fruits. And it is nothing surprising. You invest in your youth. Holland is doing that right now. I feel like they have some experts on under 14 coaching. So all of those communities that can focus on their youth, figure out how to make them stay and want to improve. And that's just the way to go.
And when you see a team this young that's that's putting in a good performance on this level, it's gonna show that it's gonna create a lot of local interest for these Hungarian maybe fans coming to watch who weren't familiar with the sport, and that's going to help people get into the game a bit younger as well. So it does have a knock-on effect, certainly. Or maybe a trickle down rather than a knock-on.
That's right. So the last point was called back because of a travel infraction.
And now off the timeout, Marton with the disc back in his hands, surveying the end zone. Stall count rising, and maybe I think got a tip on the mark.
Definitely looked like a hand block.
And immediately roasting it deep and couldn't catch up to it. Marton picks the disc up quickly, looking to get it moving over the head of Bogar downfield. Gobbled up by Galba. And now reset back to Gedveliter.
Galba just always ready with that backhand. Really wants it deep.
This one sits a little bit. Plenty of time that time. There's a player wide open on the far side of the field. This time lashing a flick towards the far side over the head. But thankfully, heads up play by Barbina to make sure that he was in the spot to reel it in.
And this is just a nail in the coffin of Hungary. I feel like the score now 12-7. Another, I don't know what the ordinal number is of that break, but just yet another break by Lithuania. And Galba was the one doing the push-ups before, I think, maybe?
Yes, he was.
So I feel
eventually
like
makes amends.
He definitely has all the power in the world in those upwind throws, really using his hips and core to give them enough spin to have them fly straight and nice and just wait there for those receivers. So even though not his backhand hucks weren't quite on point, they have earned the yards that were essential in scoring the last break.
So about 10 minutes left in this game, 8 points in a row now for the Lithuanians, leading 12-7 after being 7-4 down at one point. The Hungarians just look a little bit shell-shocked. And again, trotting out a lot of the same players, a bit of rotation through this time. Get some fresher legs on. This is a deep pull from the Lithuanians. If it just holds its shape, but didn't quite come back in bounds. Bogar will bring the disc in from the brick mark.
And we have not mentioned that, but the Lithuanians haven't used the zone since, really, since the time it wasn't bringing them much help.
Yeah, since they transitioned into going person defense, they've been a lot more effective, using their height and physicality and size downfield, really gumming up the cutters. Flick lashed towards this near sideline. Mendelis pops it into the end zone for another break. Petroskaita with the goal that time for the Lithuanians. 13-7 now. They're running away with it in the second half. The Hungarians yet to score in this second stanza of the game.
Like we said, fatigue settling in, and a short roster just not sufficient. But now we can sort of see.
Yeah, finally switching up the rotation a little bit. And they've got a larger roster than the Lithuanians, so maybe it's a little surprising not to see them rotate more. Maybe they just don't trust the depth of the side necessarily.
I think that is the case, Benji. On the other hand, probably a good call right now with this difference to get some of the less experienced players some playing time. This is going to be a downwind point for Hungary, so a great chance to practice your high release throws, your hucks, all of that. Anyone can hug the disc downwind. You get a great feeling of the disc going far, 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 all the way to the end zone.
I mean, I'm sure people who've seen me play will tell you that I'm not a great, that will tell you that I can hug downwind. I mean, I disagree, but then obviously I would. So this stacks up really, really far deep, and they're just trying to play it through the handers for a meantime. High release backhand is too far for Pastendorf.
Pastendorf, again, one of the very athletic players for Hungary. She's also got very good throws that we haven't seen throughout this game much.
Yeah, Pastendorf, former soccer player, so it feels weird saying a former player of one sport when they're still so young, but obviously that's part of the plan for Hungary, is integrate athletes from other sports as that disc goes to ground and they get the disc back here, and here is the aforementioned Pastendorf looking downfield. Again, cutter set so far deep, it's taken them an age to get underneath, and Kundeleit was sitting in that lane waiting for that throw to go. Visotskis will pick up now for Lithuania. Wiping his hands on his jersey, trying to get the disc moving before Maton gets the mark in. Here's Kundeleit. Flick around, ooh, just came out weird. Got the shape wrong.
That's right.
Now, Hungary bringing it on the sideline. Backhand just stays up for long enough. Great grab from Pastendorf.
She's looking for those deep options, but doesn't throw them.
Maton gets hand blocked on the mark by Visotskis. Got a huge piece of that one.
And now Visotskis
that was
wide open.
Just about kept alive. Visotskis has it now. Shoots that backhand deep in the wind. Pushes it all the way out of this sideline.
And he does justice to what we've been saying about him throughout this game.
They've either been brilliant or brutal.
Correct.
And that time, unfortunately for the Lithuanians, it was the latter, but Hungary will pick up relatively close to their own end zone here. Just going across the warm-up of the Ukrainian women's team, who are going to be live streaming next on this pitch from their matchup against Ireland.
And this is the worst spot to be in on the field, I think. Maybe, yeah. When going downwind.
Yeah, trapped on the sideline is never easy, and you can see Vysotsky's come and poach in that lane, tries to break it inside into the middle of the pitch. It's defended, and Vysotsky is going to take a timeout.
He's checking, making sure he still has a timeout.
And he does, and we'll now have a little bit of a break. Cool things down a little bit after it got a little bit frenetic. I have to say, our booth's got a
Whatever
little
you say, I believe you, Ben.
Yeah, I have to say, our booth's got very green behind us, and I wonder what was going on. I just realised it's the Irish women's team behind us getting ready for their game.
Another fun fact about the pitches here, the organizers have set it up so that even though there are 2 ultimate fields ready at each soccer field, so to speak, it's mostly that when one game is played, the other field remains unoccupied. And so the teams have plenty of space on the sidelines. They have plenty of space for their gear. I find that very useful.
Yeah, the one thing you do see quite often at tournaments is pitches back to back, and there's so much traffic in the middle of the field, and sometimes when there's 2 games going on next to each other, a disc goes deep from one pitch and someone on the other pitch thinks it's meant for them.
Oh, is that what happens? I have never seen that.
I hear. I don't know. I've never seen it, but apparently that might happen. I don't know. We'd have to be a pretty special person for that to happen.
Correct. Also, it's quite unfortunate that it is caught on camera. The Czech Republic has started their streaming efforts, and you can check out all the latest videos at
Unintentional?
Ciao. Oh no, definitely not. It's so old, so boring. Anyway, so CAU YouTube channel features most of the important Czech tournaments right now. So if you want to see me catch the disc or chase the disc from another field, check out the mixed nationals.
Well, I know what I'm doing when I get home.
Maybe you guys will just do me the favor of making a short clip out of it and posting it on the Ultiworld Fanseed and EUF Facebook page.
I would never do that. Now put it on the ulti.tv Twitter or Instagram. That I might do.
Yeah,
that I
that's
might
more
do.
the place for it.
So Vysotsky is going to bring the disc in off this timeout for Lithuania.
And I'm already excited for his next throw.
What do we think? Speculative backhand?
Inside forehand? Inside forehand. No. Okay, no.
Up line, going to try to lead it here. You see Marton come in and try and get the block, but he's not going to be there in time. And now blading towards the far side of the end zone. And
beautiful put into the open space by number 18, Gizauskas. Gizauskas. Okay, I have my linguistic efforts are failing me here miserably. I have 0 idea about Hungarian or Lithuanian pronunciation.
Which is strange, because usually you are our Eastern European pronunciation czar,
right,
almost.
But Hungary is just, it's Ugro-Finland.
It's a very different language, Hungarian.
Family. But yeah, I have picked up a couple of things. If you do want to express your gratitude to the Hungarians for organizing this tournament, you can say Köszönöm. Köszönöm is thank you. That's my only word so far, but I will be progressing throughout the week, and I will of course make sure that I work on my Lithuanian pronunciation.
I know Liam Grant has worked out what the words for wooden spoon is.
In Lithuanian.
In Hungarian.
In Hungarian, okay.
Which is potentially good to know. I mean, I know they do make spoon picks on their podcasts, so.
I see. Anyway, so yeah, we will definitely work on that, guys. Be patient with us. We will improve, and as these teams appear more on the stream and at the international, European and world level, of elite play, we will do them more justice.
Yeah, obvious, and one of the things that more and more players are doing is filling in these little player surveys and giving us help with pronunciation. So we thank everyone who fills that in and makes our job a little bit easier. Low release throw works its way through to Bogar. Now looking maybe for an up line. Lithuanian defense definitely clamping down, just about squeezes that one through. Winds up for a big shot, backhand blading towards the far side. Got a hand on it and couldn't quite make it stick.
What an amazing effort by number 18, Varga.
Did very well just to get a hand there and trying to shoot deep immediately, the Lithuanians, but they're just going right through the middle of the pitch.
Awesome awareness by Passendorf.
Bogar takes the swing on the far side. Passendorf looks around, finds Bogar. Beautiful low release backhand sliding towards the ground, keeps it alive. Continuation, looking for another upwind there. First point of the second half, just about sticks in the grass, dish back off. Bogar now looking at the end zone on the threshold of the goal line. Little backhand into the centre of the pitch for the goal. Hungary's first point since 7-4. Too little too late, but it's good for them to finally get on the board this second half. 14-8 the score.
Wonderful.
And that time, they looked so calm and assured. It made you wonder where that's just disappeared to in the rest of this half.
That's right. And this was the young team, the young squad, the people who didn't get a chance to play in the first and most of the second half. I'm noticing another fun fact about the Hungarian team here. We have 2 Vivians. I didn't realize Vivian was a Hungarian name, Benji.
Me neither, but I quite like the name. There's a lot of, I think, old school cool associated with Vivian, like the actress Vivian Lee. I think it's a good name.
Quite nice. We have about 5 or 6 Annas on our Czech team.
Wow, I didn't realize
Yeah.
Anna was a very Czech name.
It's quite Czech, but it's also quite annoying to have that many people that need nicknames.
Yes, that is true. And when we did EUC a few weeks ago, GB Grandmaster had a whole line of people called Dave.
Right.
Dave
I was
line.
on that game with
You
you
were,
or something, or I was listening at least. Right.
I think it was you and me, because I remember my incredulity that they threw the Dave line out.
Well, a Vivian line would have been a much more elegant
Right?
alternative to the to the Dave line.
I'd certainly watch a Vivian line, yeah. So here we go. This could potentially be the final point of the game if Lithuania can hold going against the wind. And Vysockis is going to shoot a backhand. It's going to float for an age. The defender had position and bobbled and just about caught at the third attempt maybe from Mendelis. Now looking to the centre, around, melts into the end zone from Vysockis. And the Lithuanians will take home a 15-8 victory over the Hungarian hosts.
That last point, what a representation of the game. Vysockis definitely being sort of the key player for the Lithuanians in terms of handling and getting those important breaks, opening up the space, and then he gets the, as we say in Czech, lick the whipped cream as he scores the last point and can celebrate this great victory, well thought out by the Lithuanians. I have been Rachel Tošterová. I was here with Benji.
Thank you so much for... Yep, got there in the end. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned. Action on this field next from the women's division with Ireland taking on the Ukraine, and Hannah Pendlebury and Joanna Hamer are going to be bringing you coverage from that game. So for Rahel and myself, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the other side.
Alti.tv